Alright, what's going on everyone? I'm not really sure how to start this video, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Essentially I came up with a fly pattern, right? And I usually not doing that. I haven't really made a fly pattern that I'd even consider different enough from anything else to possibly consider my own, and I'm not saying that this is the case here. But what I am doing is making this video because I've showed some friends this fly and they want to know how to tie it. So I'm making this video for anyone who wants to try and test this fly and try this fly out. I encourage you to do so because I don't think you can make a fly and just call it, give it a name and be like, oh, I invented this fly, and you never even fished it, right? All I did was I designed this a couple days ago and I swam test it. That's it, right? I think it looks great. I think the fish will like it, but I don't think it should be, properly named, all that stuff, until it has like a season under it, right? Like it should be tested. But here's kind of my working version of the fly so far. I've made a couple changes and I'm still making changes, but that's the purpose of this video. It's basically a call to action. I want you guys to tie up this fly and let me know how it works. Bring it to your Smalley creeks, bring it to your bass ponds, and just test it out. Essentially, this fly is a soft tackle streamer, right? But there's a couple key differences that I think make it different enough from just a soft tackle streamer that maybe it would deserve its own name in the future. We'll get into the tying and I'm going to show you all the specifics, but essentially the biggest difference is when I tie in the marabou, it's not just marabou palmered up the shank, topped off with a flank feather. It's marabou, and then after I tie in the marabou, I lay UV polar chenille right on top. I tie it in basically together, and when I go to wrap forward, I have those two materials. I'm holding both. So I'm not sure if it picks it up from that far away, but what this creates is sort of like an integrated flash. You can see, the tinsel and stuff from the polar chenille poking through the marabou, and when the fly gets wet and this kind of slicks down, that flash really comes through. I think it looks really good, and we threw in a pair of legs because I think that's like obligatory, right? If you're gonna steal a pattern, call it your own. That's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to come across as that, but I do think having that polar chenille with the marabou is different enough. And then I threw a cone head on it, and as far as like my thinking with designing a fly, I have a lot of appreciation for pretty flies, but I have even more appreciation for flies that just fish, right? Like we're doing it for a reason. It's an art form, sure, but at the end of the day, you want to be tying flies that catch fish, and I prefer the no-nonsense type flies. So long story short, I dropped the flank feather because I think they can get a little twisty and sometimes the fibers go all crazy, and I've struggled with them in the past tying just regular soft tackles. So what I decided for this is I made a collar of senyos, right? So you kind of get that veil, it kind of comes back into the marabou. You can sort of two-tone your flies. And I've done this a couple different ways, and I'm going to be trying different ways, so I want you guys to do the same. If you think you could, maybe substitute a material and do it better, and I want to know. So if you try it and, you find out it doesn't really seem to matter if I catch fish with the legs or without the legs, let me know in the comments. Shoot me a message. Like I want this to sort of be a collaborative effort on this fly, where, we can kind of test it this season, because, like I said, I don't think a fly should just be named and said this is a great fly and it hasn't even been fished. So the more people that can test this fly, the better. The cone head gives it some great action in the swim test. It really kind of gives it that jiggy kind of hop and skip, bass love crawfish. So you can kind of see, especially with the legs, when this thing stops and it's open like this, it kind of has that claws up look to it. Or when you swim it, it's gonna slim right down and sort of take on that bait fish profile that the soft tackle streamers known for. So yeah, that's kind of the background. I know what you guys think. I'm just taking a fly, throwing legs, and calling it my own. I'm not even calling it my own yet, but I do want to make a video to show you guys how to tie it. So we'll get into the tying, tie some up, test them. Let me know what you like, change it, do whatever you want. But I want to hear your feedback, and yeah, we'll get into the tying. Okay, I had someone comment not that long ago that they want more light in the video, so hopefully this is enough light. We get a size 2 B10S in the vise and a large size cone head. So we're going to be doing like a olivey copper bronze, pretty bassy color today. A little different than the one I showed you in the intro, but starting off with some UTC 140 in rusty brown, and I'm going to get my thread started here and run it back just a little ways maybe like a third of the hook shank, and we're gonna get some Flashabou. Take like 2 to 3 strands of Flashabou. And we're gonna tie them in at the midpoint. So find the rough midpoint. You're gonna end up trimming some off, so it doesn't have to be exact. Fold it around your thread and lay that right on top. And we're gonna run the thread back to about the hook point. And so we're gonna tie in our marabou and our polar chenille. So I just want to pause to readjust the frame, give you a little bit better view. But what I was trying to say is I haven't pulled the fibers off that I don't want yet. So what we're going to do is try to identify the part of the stem where the stem starts getting thicker, and we're just going to pull the fibers off from that point lower. You don't want to be done wrapping this and deal with a bunch of marabou kind of getting in the way of you securing it. So about there should be plenty. You can see it starts getting thicker right in here, but this is a pretty thin stem overall, so not a huge deal. To tie this in, you're going to kind of find the tip, kind of grab it just like that, and I just kind of pull the rest of the fibers kind of down just to try and get them out of the way. And you'll notice every feather kind of has like a bit of a curve to it. You want to put the curve facing down. So we're going to tie this on the back of the shank with the curve facing down. And I just kind of I probably tie in more of the tip than I need, but just tie that in. And once I get enough wraps on it, just kind of trim the excess of that tip. Not super critical, but see, I'll just pull these up here, trim them off. I mean, they're not an issue if you don't do it. All right, so we're gonna run our thread back to the tie-in point, and then we're gonna get our polar chenille. So for this one, I'm using this olive copper. I think it looks good. Now this stuff is directional, so you can kind of see that. See how you see it's kind of laying down a certain way, sort of coming down at a 45. So we're going to come to the front of this, and we're going to tie it in on the end that has the fibers laying back like that. So just take, I don't know, about a 1/4 inch, just enough to tie it in. Get a good bite on it. Secure that, and just keep running your thread up the hook shank. And we're going to stop pretty close to that cone. Throw in a 1/2 hitch. It's much easier if you have a rotary vise to wrap this forward, but certainly not necessary. So what we're going to do here is take our polar chenille, stack it on top of the marabou like this, just like that, and then scissors out of here. And what I'll do is I'll kind of take my fingers and kind of push those marabou fibers around the polar chenille if you can, and then see, the feathers kind of want to twist their own way. Sometimes you might have to Alright, there we go. So you got the marabou and the polar chenille stacked on top of each other. Kind of stroke your fibers over the polar chenille and just start wrapping forward. Feather might twist on you. And as you do that, kind of just stop. A lot of these marabou fibers will get trapped. Just kind of pick them out. And just keep making your way forward. Use just about all that feather. Stop to stab yourself with the hook if you can. And then we've reached just about the end of the actual marabou here. So what we'll do is just tie it in. So you're going to keep holding the stem and the polar chenille together. Take 2 wraps behind it. And a good few in front of it. At that point, come in with your scissors and trim them both out of there. And it really is crazy how your marabou selection impacts this fly. This is a little sparse. You definitely see more of the flash on this one. But once you get that tied in, kind of pull everything back, and we're going to build a little bit of a thread base to tie in our legs. You don't want to go too crazy, but you definitely want some thread to tie your legs on. And what I like to do at this point, just to keep everything out of the way, is take a bit of a straw, a little Kelly Gallup tip, and cut a slit down it so you can put it right over the fly. So you just pull everything back and slide your straw on there. It keeps everything nice and out of the way. Get a couple legs, just using this, can't remember what color they are, pumpkin green, and just pull 2 off from the hank here. Nothing special. You find the rough midpoint of those, and you're going to tie them in on the near side. Adjust the positioning before you really lock them in. 2 wraps, and you take your other half, fold it over, catch it with your thread, and have it running down the other side. Alright, now you can take your straw off if you'd like and catch everything in that straw, legs included, just to keep them out of the way. This is one of those flies where there's a lot of stuff that can kind of frizz out and get in your way. So last step is sennyos, kind of make our collar. I'm going to try this a little bit different way. I haven't done it this way before, but I think it's gonna work well. I'm using this rusty brown color. If you haven't worked with sennyos before, it's an awesome material. You do a bunch of cool things with it. You make some really cool heads. But what you want to do is you take out a clump, and we're going to do what's called carding. So you're going to basically repetitively pull this apart and stack it on top of each other. And what this does is it straightens out all the fibers, kind of keeps everything nice and straight. And this is what you'll do if you ever make like a head out of sennyos, like a bait fish style head. You're going to definitely be wanting to card this stuff. So pretty good. What I'll do for this one is I'm going to card it one last time to kind of create 2 separate clumps. And I'm going to pinch the bottoms of the clumps in my right hand, but try my best to sort of make a Y or a V. See how I kind of have a V here? And I'm basically going to put that V over the fly, trying to kind of cover a 360, and then we're going to try and catch it right in the middle there. I think more of that ended up on top than I wanted to. Kind of a loose wrap to just kind of catch it all. Give it one more wrap, and then we're going to kind of push everything back like this. See how it kind of veils into our fly. And we're going to take a couple tight wraps in front. Now, you could whip finish right here, but we do have a little bit of a gap between the cone and the sennyos. So if you want, you can fill that in with any dubbing you want. I'll probably just throw a little bit of rusty brown ice dub in here. Just to fill the cracks, and it helps. If you have a lot of material pushed up against that cone, it kind of helps it from spinning and moving. It's not going to a ton, but so I guess what I'm saying is this is an optional step. I'm just going to throw a little bit of this in here. Just dub it onto your thread. You don't need to do a dubbing loop or anything, because we're just going to be making a little collar. Just like that. You can even throw a little bit more in if you want, which I think I will. Cool. Alright, I'm happy with that. Last step is just get your super glue. Add a little durability to our fly. And I just throw a little bit of super glue on that first inch or so, just so when those wraps get pulled down each other, they are also glued together. And if I can find my whip finish tool, I'm just going to use this because it'll let us put a nice clean whip finish right behind that cone. Make sure that's nice and tight. And then without cutting your legs, snip that free. And that's the fly. We'll come back in here. I believe that's in focus. Come back in here, and what I like to do is I'll pull everything back and see where that marabou ends. Ends about here, so I'll just take a little bit longer than that. That's where I'll come in, and I try to stagger it if I can, so the Flashabou doesn't end at one spot. And just trim up our legs, kind of let them hang, kind of pull them forward, pull them out, brush everything back. And just trim them any way you want, really. It's kind of below the camera. Can't really change the angle so you guys can see that, but leave them long, leave them short. Like I said, I want you guys to make your own modifications. Then this is sort of a fly that it's nice if you have a bodkin, you can kind of pick out some of those trapped marabou. Some of your senyos is gonna fall out. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. It always ends up shedding a little. Just kind of come in and pick everything out, free up all those trapped fibers. But that's the fly. I'm really excited to get this one out there. Really excited to hear what you guys think of it, and hopefully a few of you tie some up and test them out, see how they do for you. But that's the fly. Just wanted to show you guys. Name is pending. If we all catch a bunch of fish on it this season, maybe we'll give it a real name. But you can see that that UV really shines through real nice through the marabou. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys.